Have you ever wondered how the smallest creatures survive in a world full of giants? What if the secret to survival isn't strength, but strategy? And what would you do if your only chance to live meant outsmarting everything around you? Welcome to Echoes of the Wild, where survival is not just about power. It's about intelligence, deception, and timing. If you're fascinated by the hidden strategies of nature, make sure you stay till the end and don't forget to subscribe. In a world where almost everything is bigger and stronger, some creatures have developed strategies that seem almost unbelievable. Take a tiny crab, for example. At first glance, it looks harmless. An easy meal for any predator passing by. And that's exactly what many predators think. But the moment danger gets close, everything changes. This crab doesn't run. It doesn't hide. It fights. Clutched in its tiny claws are what look like boxing gloves. But these are no ordinary weapons. They are living creatures, small, venomous sea anemones. Each time the crab strikes, these gloves deliver a painful sting, strong enough to make even confident predators back off instantly. But here's where it gets darker. These anemones could grow much larger if left alone. So the crab keeps them small by starving them. It controls them, uses them, keeps them alive just enough to serve as weapons. It's not just survival. It's control. And the danger doesn't end there. Other crabs, seeing this powerful defense, may try to steal these living weapons for themselves. In this world, even your protection can become a target. And the crab knows this, so it never sleeps fully. It never stops watching. Because in the wild, the moment you feel safe is the moment you become prey. But survival isn't always about fighting. Sometimes, it's about preparation. High in the mountains, a small animal faces a different kind of challenge. The seasons are short and time is limited. For just a few weeks each year, food is available. After that, everything disappears under snow. So this tiny creature works tirelessly. Day after day, trip after trip, collecting plants and building a massive zapas of food. Thousands of journeys, all for survival. But hard work isn't the only strategy. Sometimes, stealing is easier. Instead of making long, exhausting trips, it watches others, waits for the perfect moment, and then takes what it needs. Quick, efficient, risky. Because if it gets caught, there's no escape without consequences. The stolen food might be hidden in a dozen different caches, scattered across the mountain. No single location holds everything. That way, even if a thief steals from the thief, not everything is lost. It's a game of shadows, memory, and mistrust. And every winter, only the smartest survive. And then there are creatures that use something even more unexpected. Manipulation. In certain groups, conflict is unavoidable. Fights happen. Tension rises. But living together means they must resolve things quickly. So how do they do it? They use something surprising. A distraction. One individual takes a baby and presents it to another, not as harm, but as a peace offering. A way to calm tension, rebuild trust, and restore balance. It may look strange, even harsh, but in their world it works. The baby is not hurt. It is held, shown, offered. The aggressor, confused and distracted, lowers its guard. The fight ends. The group continues, and the one who offered the baby gains status. Not for strength, but for cleverness. Because in the wild, the one who ends a fight is often more powerful than the one who starts it. And yet, this same trick can be used for deception. A false peace offering, a fake surrender, a stolen infant used as a shield. The line between diplomacy and manipulation is thin, and many creatures walk it every day without ever knowing which side they are on. And just when you think you've seen it all, nature reveals something even more mysterious. Some predators don't just hide visually. They hide chemically. There are creatures that leave no scent behind. To others, it's as if they don't exist at all. Prey can't detect them. Predators can't track them. They move through the world like ghosts. It's a level of invisibility that goes beyond what we can see. Imagine walking through a forest where every leaf, every rock, every shadow could hide a hunter. But your nose tells you nothing. Your ears hear nothing. Your eyes see nothing until it is too late. These chemical ghosts are not magical. They have simply evolved to suppress or alter their own odor molecules, or to match the background scent of their environment so perfectly that their presence becomes statistically invisible. Some do this through diet, eating specific plants that mask their natural smell. Others have symbiotic bacteria on their skin that actively break down scent compounds before they can be released into the air. It is biological stealth, refined over millions of years. And it is one of the most terrifying abilities in the natural world. And deception doesn't stop there. Some animals fake success. They pretend to win, to attract attention, to gain advantage, even when they have nothing. And surprisingly, it works. Take certain birds that cannot sing well. Instead of learning complex songs to attract a mate, they listen to other birds singing nearby, and then produce a sound that mimics the conclusion of a victorious territorial battle. Other birds hear this and assume the faker has already won a fight elsewhere, making him seem stronger, more dominant, more desirable. He has not fought. He has not won, but he has convinced everyone that he has. This is not lying with words. This is lying with sound, with timing, with the expectations of others. And it works again and again. Some fish do the same with color. A male fish that is small and weak might briefly flash the bright colors of a dominant male, just long enough to scare away a rival or impress a female, then fade back to dullness before anyone realizes the truth. It is a bluff, a pure, effective, beautiful bluff. Others disguise themselves so well that they can walk directly into danger and walk out unnoticed. Consider the mimic octopus. It does not simply change color like other octopuses. It changes shape, movement, and behavior to imitate up to 15 different other animals. It can flatten itself to become a poisonous sole. It can stretch its arms to look like a sea snake. It can even mimic a lionfish, complete with venomous-looking spines made from its own flesh. Predators see what they fear, not what is actually there. The octopus walks through the most dangerous reef on Earth dressed as the one thing no one wants to eat. That is not camouflage. That is identity theft as a survival strategy. And it requires constant vigilance, constant memory, constant recalculating of which disguise fits which moment. One wrong choice, one hesitation, and the game ends. But when it works perfectly. Some mimic sounds. Some mimic smells. Some even mimic behavior. There is a spider that mimics the mating dance of a specific species of moth, but not to mate, to hunt. The male moth, drawn by the promise of a female, approaches the dancing spider, and by the time he realizes the truth, he is already wrapped in silk. The spider has learned not just the appearance of the moth, but its language, its rituals, its deepest desires, and turned all of them into a trap. In the wild, deception is just as powerful as strength. More powerful sometimes, because strength tires, strength ages. Strength can be overcome by greater strength. But deception adapts, it learns. It changes shape with every generation. A predator that relies on speed will eventually meet something faster. But a predator that relies on lies only needs to find one new lie each season, and the hunt continues forever. And then there are those who break the rules entirely. While others compete, fight, and follow the system, a few choose a different path. They take shortcuts. They exploit the system. They survive without playing fair. Consider the cuckoo. It does not build a nest. It does not raise its young. Instead, it lays its eggs in the nests of other birds, one egg per nest, carefully matched in color and pattern to deceive the host. The host bird incubates the cuckoo's egg alongside her own, feeds the cuckoo chick when it hatches, and often ends up losing her own offspring because the larger, louder cuckoo chick pushes them out of the nest. The cuckoo mother never meets her children. She never feeds them. She never teaches them. She simply lays and leaves, trusting in deception to do what effort cannot. And it works so well that cuckoos have thrived across entire continents while their hosts evolve newer and newer ways to detect the fraud. It is an arms race of lies. Each generation, the cuckoo egg becomes more similar to the host's egg. Each generation, the host becomes better at spotting the difference. Neither side ever wins completely. The war never ends, and that is exactly why both species continue to change, continue to adapt, continue to sharpen their tools of trickery. And sometimes those who break the rules are not parasites, but pioneers. There is a species of ant that does not forage for food like its neighbors. Instead, it observes where other ants are working, waits until they have found a rich source of food, and then releases a chemical signal that mimics the panicked alarm call of those ants. The working ants flee, thinking danger is near. The lazy ant then walks calmly to the abandoned food and takes everything. It has not broken any physical law. It has not fought a single battle. It has simply weaponized the fear of others. And fear, unlike food, is infinite. You can never run out of ways to make someone afraid, because in the wild, survival doesn't reward the strongest. It rewards the smartest. But smart does not always mean clever in the way we think. Sometimes smart means patient. There is a fish in the Amazon that hunts by spitting water at insects above the surface. A single drop, perfectly aimed, knocks the insect into the water where the fish waits. But here's the strange part. This fish can learn to adjust its aim for refraction, for distance, for wind, by watching other fish hunt. It does not need to fail 1,000 times. It watches once, twice, 3 times, and then it knows. That is not instinct. That is not trial and error. That is social learning, cognitive flexibility, a form of intelligence we once thought only humans and apes possessed. And it happens in a creature no larger than your thumb. There is a wasp that hunts cockroaches, but it does not kill them immediately. It stings them twice. The first sting paralyzes the front legs. The second sting goes directly into the cockroach's brain, targeting a specific cluster of neurons that controls escape behavior. The cockroach does not die. It does not even lose consciousness. It simply loses the will to run. It stands still, alive, aware, but unable to flee, as the wasp leads it by the antenna like a dog on a leash, back to the wasp's burrow, where it will be sealed alive with an egg. The larva that hatches will eat the cockroach from the inside, avoiding vital organs for as long as possible to keep the meat fresh. This is not cruelty. This is not evil. This is survival refined over millions of years into a sequence of actions so precise, so devastating, that the cockroach's only defense is to never be stung at all. And yet the cockroach has its own counter-strategy. It has learned to recognize the wasp's approach and kick out with its spiny legs before the wasp gets close enough to strike. The arms race continues, always, forever, no final victory, only temporary advantages. So the next time you think survival is simple, remember this. Out there, every move matters. Every decision counts. And sometimes, the difference between life and death is just one clever idea. But clever ideas do not come from nowhere. They come from pressure, from hunger, from the memory of a narrow escape, from watching a friend get taken and thinking, never again. The wild is not a battleground of muscles and claws. It is a library of strategies, each one a book written in blood, tested in silence, passed down through generations, not by language but by DNA, by instinct, by the simple fact that the ones who did not figure it out are no longer here to argue. Consider the ant that farms fungus. Millions of years before humans ever planted a seed, ants were already cultivating gardens underground. They cut leaves, carry them deep into their nests, chew them into a paste, and feed that paste to a specific fungus that cannot survive anywhere else. The fungus breaks down toxins in the leaves that would kill the ants. The ants protect the fungus from mold and parasites. They even produce their own antibiotics, grown in special glands on their bodies, to keep the fungus healthy. This is not simple cooperation. This is agriculture, domestication, medicine, and it happens in complete darkness, without language, without written records, without any of the things we consider necessary for civilization. The ants do not think about what they are doing. They do not plan for next season. They simply act. And yet their actions produce a system so stable, so efficient, that it has outlasted empires. When the dinosaurs died, the fungus farming ants barely noticed. They were too busy tending their underground cities, too focused on the next leaf, the next harvest, the next generation of workers. There is a shrimp that builds a home out of sand and coral rubble, but it cannot see very well. So it shares its burrow with a goby fish that has excellent vision, but no way to defend itself. The shrimp digs, the goby watches. When a predator approaches, the goby flicks its tail against the shrimp, and both retreat into the burrow. The shrimp keeps the home clean. The goby keeps the shrimp alive. Neither could survive alone. Together they are almost invulnerable. This is not friendship in the human sense. There is no emotion here, no loyalty, no love. There is only mutual benefit, tested over generations, refined into instinct. And yet, watching them work together, it is impossible not to feel something like respect. They have solved a problem that kills so many others, how to be weak in a world of the strong and survive anyway. They did it by finding another weak thing and becoming strong together, but not all partnerships are so peaceful. Take the barnacle that grows only on the skin of whales. It cannot swim. It cannot feed itself. It does nothing except attach and wait. The whale carries it across oceans, through currents of plankton-rich water, and the barnacle simply opens its shell and eats whatever flows past. The whale gains nothing. The barnacle gives nothing. This is not symbiosis. This is not mutualism. This is pure one-sided exploitation, enabled by the whale's inability to scratch its own skin. The barnacle has solved survival by becoming invisible in plain sight. The whale does not remove it because the whale does not even feel it. And so the barnacle travels the world, seeing nothing, doing nothing, wanting nothing except the next meal carried by its unwilling host. Some creatures survive by being forgettable. There is a frog that looks exactly like a dead leaf. Not a little bit like a leaf. Exactly. Veins, spots, edges, even the way it curls when frightened. A predator searching for a frog sees only leaf litter. A predator searching for a leaf sees nothing suspicious. The frog has erased itself from the world by becoming something no one wants. That is a different kind of strategy. Not fighting, not hiding, not even tricking, just being uninteresting, being beneath notice, being the background noise of the forest. And in a world full of giants, being forgettable is sometimes the best defense of all. There is a moth that drinks the tears of sleeping birds. It lands softly on the bird's closed eyelid and extends a tiny straw-like tongue into the corner of the eye, drinking the salty fluid. The bird does not wake. The moth drinks its fill and flies away. The bird loses nothing it will miss. The moth gains water and salt it cannot find elsewhere. This is not theft. This is not parasitism. This is a quiet agreement made without words, without consent, without any awareness on the bird's part. And it works because the moth has learned to be gentle, to be patient, to be so soft that the bird's sleeping brain does not register its presence as a threat. The giants of the world, the strong ones, the fast ones, the ones with teeth and claws and venom, they sleep, and while they sleep, the small ones move through the cracks of their attention, taking what they need, leaving nothing behind but a slightly drier eye. Have you ever watched a spider build a web? Not just any web, an orb web, the classic spiral design we all recognize. The spider does not measure. It does not use blueprints. It simply walks through empty space, extruding silk from its body, and somehow creates a geometric masterpiece that would require a human engineer hours of calculation. The spider does this every night. If the web is destroyed, the spider eats the remaining silk, recycles the proteins, and builds again. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is random. Every angle, every tension, every distance between spiral threads is optimized to catch specific prey. The spider does not know physics. The spider does not know math. And yet the spider builds like a physicist who has studied for 1,000 years. That is what evolution does. It does not teach. It does not explain. It simply kills the ones who build bad webs and leaves the ones who build good webs to reproduce. After 1,000,000 years of this, every surviving spider is a master architect without ever having taken a single lesson. There is a bird that breaks open snail shells by dropping them onto rocks from a specific height. Not too high, or the shell shatters into useless fragments. Not too low, or the shell remains intact. The bird learns the exact height for each type of snail, each type of rock, each condition of the ground below. It remembers, it adjusts, it improves, and then it teaches its chicks by example, dropping shells in front of them until they begin to mimic the behavior. This is culture. Not human culture, not art or literature or law, but culture nonetheless. Knowledge passed not through genes, but through observation and imitation. The bird's ancestors did not know how to drop snails. Some individual somewhere discovered it by accident, and because that discovery helped it survive, it fed its chicks well, and those chicks watched and learned. And now an entire species of bird cracks snails with precision that would make a physicist nod in appreciation. That is how survival becomes strategy, and how strategy becomes inheritance. Some creatures survive by being too fast to catch, others by being too tough to kill, others by being too poisonous to eat. But the most successful creatures of all are the ones that survive by being too boring to bother with. Consider the tardigrade, the water bear, a creature so small that thousands could live on a single grain of sand. It can survive boiling. It can survive freezing near absolute zero. It can survive the vacuum of space, radiation that would kill a human instantly, and decades without water. It does not fight. It does not hide. It does not trick. It simply refuses to die. When conditions become dangerous, the tardigrade curls into a ball, dries out completely, and enters a state called cryptobiosis. Its metabolism drops to 0.01% of normal. It has no heartbeat because it has no heart. It has no brain activity because it has no need for a brain in that state. It is, for all practical purposes, dead. But add water and it comes back. Minutes later. It is walking again, eating again, reproducing again, as if nothing happened. The tardigrade has solved the problem of death by becoming temporarily non-living. It is not stronger than the giants. It is not smarter. It is just more patient. It can wait until the giants are gone. And eventually all giants go away. There is a fish that lives in the darkest caves on Earth. It has no eyes. It has no pigment. It looks like a ghost, pale and blind, swimming in water that has not seen sunlight for millions of years. But it has something better than vision. It has sensors along its body that detect the tiniest movements in the water, vibrations so small that a human could never feel them. It builds a map of its world not with light but with pressure, with flow, with the echoes of its own movements bouncing back from walls it cannot see. It has never seen a predator because no predator lives in its cave. It has never seen prey because it hunts by touch alone, and yet it survives. Not because it is strong, not because it is clever, but because it found a world where nothing else wanted to live and made that world its home. That is the ultimate strategy. Not beating the competition, avoiding the competition entirely, finding a gap, a crack, a forgotten corner of the map, and building something there while the giants fight over everything else. And sometimes the smallest creatures survive by being useful to the giants. There are cleaner fish that swim directly into the mouths of much larger fish, eating parasites from between their teeth, from under their gills, from the surface of their eyes. The giant fish could swallow the cleaner in an instant. It does not, because the cleaner provides a service no giant can perform for itself. The giant fish learns to recognize individual cleaner fish, to remember which ones have done a good job, to return to the same cleaning station again and again. It even signals when it is ready to be cleaned, opening its mouth wide, changing color, waiting patiently as the tiny fish swims into danger. This is not trust. This is trade. One gives safety, the other gives health, and both walk away better off than they started. The cleaner fish has not defeated the giant. It has made itself indispensable, and in the wild, being needed is sometimes better than being feared. There is a wasp that lays its eggs inside a living caterpillar. The caterpillar continues to eat, to grow, to move, completely unaware that it is carrying dozens of parasitic larvae inside its body. When the larvae are ready to emerge, they eat their way out through the caterpillar's skin. But they do not kill it, not yet. Instead, they spin cocoons on the caterpillar's back and continue to feed on its body fluids, while the caterpillar, still alive, still moving, builds a silk web over them for protection. The caterpillar has been turned into a bodyguard for the very creatures that are consuming it. It protects its own killers from other predators. It does this because the wasp larvae have injected it with a virus that alters its brain, hijacking its behavior, turning it into a zombie that serves the wasp's needs until the very moment of death. This is not strategy. This is not cooperation. This is biological weaponry, evolved over millions of years, precise and horrible and completely without malice. The wasp does not hate the caterpillar. The wasp does not even know the caterpillar exists as anything other than a resource. And the caterpillar, manipulated beyond its ability to resist, does what it is told until there is nothing left. But even the wasp has its own predator. There is a fly that lays its eggs inside the wasp, and a fungus that infects the fly, and a bacterium that kills the fungus. Every predator is prey. Every hunter is hunted. Every strategy has a counter-strategy waiting to be discovered. That is the truth of the wild. Not a ladder of strength with the biggest on top and the smallest crushed beneath, but a web, a tangled, infinite web of relationships. Each one a story of adaptation, each one a lesson in survival. The small crab with its starving anemones, the thieving mountain creature with its hidden caches, the clever manipulator offering a baby to end a fight, the chemical ghost leaving no scent behind, the liar faking victory, the octopus pretending to be a snake, the cuckoo abandoning its young to strangers, the ant weaponizing fear, the fish learning by watching, the wasp performing brain surgery on a cockroach, the farmer ants cultivating fungus for millions of years, the shrimp and the goby, blind and vigilant, surviving together, the barnacle riding the whale across endless oceans, the leaf frog becoming invisible by becoming boring, the moth drinking tears from a sleeping bird's eye, the spider building perfect geometry without understanding math, the bird teaching its chicks to crack snails at the perfect height, the tardigrade waiting out death itself, the blind cave fish mapping darkness with its skin, the cleaner fish swimming into the mouth of the giant and swimming out again, the wasp turning a caterpillar into a bodyguard for its own murderers. So the next time you think you understand survival, remember this. You have only scratched the surface. Out there, right now, as you read these words, a tiny crab is striking a predator with living weapons it keeps small through starvation. A mountain thief is stealing food from its neighbor under the cover of darkness. A chemical ghost is moving through a forest without leaving a single molecule of evidence behind. An octopus is deciding which animal to pretend to be next. A cuckoo is watching a nest, waiting for the perfect moment to lay its counterfeit egg. An ant is releasing a panic signal it has no right to make, and other ants are fleeing in terror from a danger that does not exist. A fish is spitting water at an insect, missing, watching another fish succeed, and learning. A wasp is leading a cockroach home by its antenna, and the cockroach, still alive, still aware, has already forgotten how to run. A spider is rebuilding a web that was destroyed at dawn, eating the silk, recycling the protein, starting again. A bird is dropping a snail onto a rock from exactly the right height, and its chick is watching, learning, preparing for a life it has not yet lived. A tardigrade is waking up after a decade of death, stretching its tiny legs, resuming its tiny journey across a grain of sand. A cleaner fish is swimming into the mouth of a grouper, and the grouper is holding perfectly still, jaws open, eyes watching, trusting a creature smaller than its smallest tooth. A wasp larva is eating a caterpillar from the inside, and the caterpillar is building a silk shield to protect the wasp from harm. This is not a story about animals. This is a story about solutions. Millions of solutions. Billions of solutions. Every creature that has ever lived is an answer to a question asked by the world. The question is always the same. How do you stay alive long enough to make more of yourself? And the answers are as varied as the stars. Flight, speed, armor, venom, poison, camouflage, mimicry, deception, cooperation, parasitism, farming, tool, use, learning, memory, patience, stealth, sacrifice, even death. Temporary death, waiting until the danger passes and then returning like a ghost to a body that never quite gave up. If you want to explore more hidden strategies like this, stay connected with Echoes of the Wild, where every story reveals the true intelligence of nature. Because out there, in the forests and deserts and oceans and caves, in the canopies and the soil and the skin of giants and the tears of sleeping birds, there is always another strategy waiting to be discovered. Another answer to the old question. Another way to survive in a world full of things that want to eat you. And that is the most beautiful thing about the wild. It never stops inventing. It never stops surprising. It never runs out of ways to say, not today. Today I live. Tomorrow we will see. But today I have outsmarted you. Today I have outweighted you. Today I have outlasted you. And tomorrow I will do it again. Because that is what survival means. Not winning once. Winning every single day, in every single moment, against everything that wants to take your life. The giants do not sleep easily. The small do not rest at all. And somewhere, right now, a creature no bigger than a grain of rice is making a decision that means the difference between becoming a meal and becoming a memory. And it is making that decision without fear, without hope, without any emotion at all. Just the cold, perfect, relentless logic of a mind built by millions of years of ancestors who were just clever enough, just fast enough, just lucky enough to survive. That is Echoes of the Wild. And you are part of it too. Every time you make a choice, every time you adapt, every time you learn something new to solve a problem you have never faced before, you are doing exactly what the crab does, what the octopus does, what the tardigrade does. You are surviving, not because you are the strongest, not because you are the fastest, but because you are smart enough to keep trying, keep changing, keep looking for the next strategy when the old one stops working. So stay curious, stay watching, stay connected, because the wild is not out there. The wild is everywhere.